Hey, all my little sinners and saints. Um, this one's another bad one. I know every time I say that, but this one's a bad one. It's another child one. People don't seem to want to do those, so I thought that I would. And I don't know. I think they're all bad, but the ones with children are really bad. Do you see my hair? I colored it. So the gray is gone. The gray is gone. Anyway, let's get to it. Here we go.
If you don't speak, then you won't get spoken to. People only see you when you up, then they notice you. Trying to be a legend, create lines that's quotable. We don't need a real shot last, and I only know a few. People when they feelings always acting emotional. Ain't about a check, then it ain't negotiable. Gotta show respect to the people that's posting you. Soon to be on posters posted up like the older dudes. Now we aging like fine wine, how we supposed to do. Peep the shade on the timelines, this time posted cool. Shit is black and white like photos from a disposable. Certain situations you ain't end up uncontrollable. All up in their head, I be so confused. I just brush it off, take the shoulder brush. We all got the same 24, so it's no excuse. Switch it up. We can rap or produce the things you can't have. It's forbidden fruit. It seem like people love telling lies on me. They know that I'm the one they got their eyes on me. They know I'm here to stay in. I won't leave. We do this for the fans, for your eyes only. Just watch closely, but they all gon' see. They don't fuck with us, but they still gon' breathe. Don't talk to me, man, you gotta show me. If it ain't ISO, then it ain't it. It's such isolation from all negativity. They try to bend over, but can't get rid of me. We gon' do our thing until infinity. Beware the industry, please stay in control of your dignity. People fidgety, that's why they can't sue me. Y'all full of bigotry, puffin' on their nicotine. Please never let another man belittle me. Take away my liberty in search of positivity. It seem like people love telling lies on me. They know that I'm the one they got their eyes on me. They know I'm here to stay in. I won't leave. We do this for the fans, for your eyes only. Just watch closely, but they all gon' see. They don't fuck with us, but they still gon' breathe. Don't talk to me, man, you gotta show me. If it ain't ISO, then it ain't Indies, yeah.
Yay. Okay, today we are going to be talking about Kaden McWilliams. He was a little boy. He had a little sister. This was him when he was born. This is his mother, Elijah. Remember her name because let's be real, it sounds like a man's name. So you might get confused through this story. There was a man who loved a lady. Okay, and this is Leland. This will be the spouse. Kaden McWilliams was born on December 20th, 2010 in Colorado. Boy, we visit Colorado like we own some land there. To parents Elijah McWilliams Pankey and Leland Pankey. Some reports indicate that Leland was Caden's stepfather. I think so too, or he would have had the last name. But information that we'll get to later on in the episode provided otherwise. Elijah and Leland were married in 2014, after which Caden's sister was born. However, things weren't happy in the Payton household. In 2017, November, Leland began beating Elijah, according to their landlord. Elijah had recently changed from being a really outgoing person to a hermit that just wasn't that just wanted to stay in the house. The family got evicted in 2018 after which they began staying in hotels. Pregnant. This is BV going on here. Oh, the cool air coming through the window. And during 2017 and 18 year, Kaden attended Ellis Elementary School. His principal, Nicole Whitman, described him as a hard worker who did well academically and was always positive, caring, and who lived the Ellis core value of integrity in her own words. That's her. Kaden stood out from the others the moment he walked through the school doors every morning with a huge smile on his face. His smile and eyes showed how kind and sweet he was to the core. Other students wanted to be his friend, looked to Kaden for what to do next. According to his teacher, Christina Hefner, it says Heffler, he was always such a bright, shining student. He was always so kind. He was so popular. He would walk into the cafeteria and kids would say, "Come sit with me." Everybody was always so excited to see him, and he was always smiling and was such a pleasure to have in the class. Kaden attended school on May 24th. That was the last day he ever attended school, and that was in 2018. Even though the school year didn't end until May 31st, in August of 2018, Elijah notified, remember that's the mother, notified Kaden's school that he would not be coming back. In fact, she was going to be homeschooling him. This will become very important later on in our story. According to her Facebook page, Elijah worked at IHS Market. See, he was bright and shining. I'm sorry, they always say that about the child. It's a child, of course they are, until the world corrupts them. The IHS Market, which later merged with SP Global, and per their website, the company is the world's foremost provider of credit rating, benchmarks, and analytics in global capital and commodity markets. It is unclear what exactly Elijah did in her role, but she was employed as a temporary worker. Elijah was contracted to work for the company through April of 2018, but her contract was later extended until August. Employees of the company were allowed to work from home, but Elijah worked at the company's satellite office in Highland Ranch, Colorado, about 95% of the time. When she passed when she pressed on when she was pressed on why she came into the office, she replied she'd rather work from the office rather than home. In fact, Elijah rarely left the office. All her coworkers claimed that she was there almost every day, all day, every day, and would eat her lunch at the office, never leaving to go get some takeout, never go run errands. According to the co-worker, one of her co-workers, Elijah was often still there after everyone had left for the day. After Elijah was involved in a car accident, another temporary worker would give her rides to work. And, of course, give her rides back home. They would engage in small talk on the rides to work and home. During one of those conversations, Elijah stated that her husband, Leland, was a stay at home dad. She said that he was the sole provider of income that she was the sole provider of income for the family. of 4, and on December 21st, 2018, officers and detectives with the Aurora PD responded to a call at the Aurora Extended Stay Hotel located at 14095 East Evans Avenue regarding DV, domestic violence. There was a complaint that they were met by a 41-year-old Elijah McWilliams Pankey, who had made the call regarding her husband Leland, who was actually staying at the same hotel. He was renting a room at a different hotel, and this was at the Town Place Suites located at 3699 South Morocco Parkway in Denver. By means of their investigations, authorities were able to establish that the couple had 2 children, a baby girl that was not being named due to her age, and a boy who was 7 years old, Kaden Williams. When asked about the whereabouts of the 2 children, Elijah informed the detectives that they were with their father, Leland. While speaking with Elijah, a substance suspected to be heroin was observed in the room. As such, the room was secured and a search warrant was obtained by the police department, the Aurora Police Department, where Elijah was being transported to the police station. The officers used the search warrants, LED detectives to they led them to the suspected heroin. The detectives also found a business card for a public storage that was located on 5005 East Evans Avenue in Denver. The access code was written on the back, and Detective Brandon Meadows contacted the storage facility. He was advised that Elijah had been renting the storage unit since May 17th, 2018. After a search of Elijah's room, he had concluded it was locked and secured. That same day, both Denver and Aurora police officers responded to the Town Place Suites to have a chat with Leland Pankey. Officers found Leland in the parking lot, getting into a black 2009 BMW. They secured the place. That's them securing it. That's the police. That is not a BMW. But in a black 2009 BMW, Leland had an active DV arrest warrant listed on the National Crime Information Center database, with Elijah listed as the victim. As such, he had to be taken into custody for questioning, and his vehicle was towed to the Denver Police Department impound lot. A cursory search warrant of his BMW yielded a half-ounce of crystal meth. While in custody, officers asked him about the whereabouts of the children, as Elijah claimed that they were with him. Leland claimed that one of the children were at a daycare center located near 1225 Parker Road. I think the 1225 is like an interstate maybe, but changed the subject and tried to avoid answering questions about Kaden. Eventually, Leland suggested that Kaden was with Elijah due to the act of the DV warrants. He was ultimately placed under arrest and transported to the Aurora PD. The next part of our story is a little convoluted because so much has been redacted from official reports. With some of these cases, I've got one I'm getting ready to do after this one. There's not a lot. I like background information. I like to see why someone wants to rip people's teeth out of their head and set them on fire. And what, I'm not normal, but I'm not that, it's like what makes people like that. But on December 21st, Aurora Police Detective Jeffrey Prince interviewed a 24-year-old woman who claimed that Leland had told her that he had lost his son 3 weeks prior. According to the woman whose name was redacted, Leland told her that it was too much to handle. He hadn't grieved and he needed help to get someone. She told the detective to get help from someone. She told the detective, Prince, that Leland told her that the family could have that her family could have his storage unit, and later that he didn't want anything to do with it because there's too many memories. Sounds fishy. That's the redacted woman. That's actually the storage unit. Is 345. That's his preschool where the little girl was. The next part is also heavily redacted, but I was able to figure out the gist of what was going on based on the clues that were provided by the affidavit. Aurora police officers responded to the Parker Learning Center located at 3104 South Parker Road in Aurora. There they met the employee and discovered that Elijah and Leland's daughter was indeed at the location. The employee advised the officers that Leland had spoke to her staff on November 29th. Allegedly, on that date, Leland said that he wanted his daughter to be social with the other kids at the center because she had lost her brother. Meanwhile, both Elijah and Leland were sitting at the Aurora Police Department being grilled about their whereabouts, were being grilled about the whereabouts of Kaden, after which they both asked for a lawyer on December 23rd. Detective Meadows of the Aurora Police Department prepared another search warrant for the couple's storage unit on East Evans Avenue, which was subsequently approved. Subsequently by the judge the same day. Detectives with the Crimes Against Children unit responded to the storage unit. In addition to two canine, there's a storage unit. They had two canine handlers with them, obviously the dogs, and their partners for search and rescue of the United States responded to assist. Both canine teams are deploying cadaver dogs at approximately 9:05 in the morning. An employee at the storage unit facility removed the lock from which Elijah and Leland's unit had. And at about 9:59 the same morning, detectives raised the door and began their search. Numerous photographs were taken before anyone entered the unit. Now, at a glance, the unit contained a few plastic storage totes, a large pile of clothes, miscellaneous items that were located at the back. Closer to the door, though, the detective found two big jugs of water that were empty or partially empty. And these were 7-gallon ones. And they found partial bags of Quikrete brand concrete, granular pieces of premixed concrete covered much of the floor of the unit along the eastern side, which was a rectangular shape object that was wrapped with layers of black trash bags and silver duct tape. The object was roughly 2 to 3 feet tall and 2 to 3 feet across. Canine handlers Kathy Brantley and Melissa Kent both deployed their canine partner Salmon and Hawk within the open storage unit, and neither canine alerted on any odors. Detective Patrick McGrady began to search the unit by cutting away the layers of the black plastic from the rectangular shape object. Each layer was tightly wrapped against the next interior layers, and many layers contained duct tape. After he removed several layers, he began to detect a strong odor. After the canines were deployed again, both showed noticeable interest in the rectangular shape object. Both handlers advised that their canine partners had displayed the individual trained indication which signaled the presence of odor of human remains. Based on the new information learned during the brief search, detectives halted their efforts and secured the scene pending the arrival of the homicide detectives from the Denver Police Department. After obtaining more information from the members of the Aurora PD, Denver Homicide Detective Carrie Johnson responded to the Denver Police Department headquarters and authorized another search warrant for the storage unit, signed by Judge Olympia Fay at 2:53 the same day. At around 3 p.m., detectives Marty Smith and Carrie Johnson entered the unit with their search warrant. The unit contained numerous items of evidentiary value and were measured and photographed and collected as evidence. Among those items that were found in the large plastic dog crate with a block of cement inside of it. Denver PD bomb technician Kirk Peterson x-rayed the dog crate. However, the x-rays were inconclusive as whether there actually contained anything inside the block of cement. As such, the dog crate was transported to the Denver medical examiner. Numerous bags of Quikrete and the large bottles of water were collected as evidence. Mentioned prior, the Quikrete mixture was prevalent on the floor of the unit and appeared to be mixed and placed inside the dog crate at 7:45. At 7:45, the Denver Police Department, and it's 7:45 p.m. The Denver Police Department Crime Lab detectives finished collecting evidence that was in plain view at 8 o'clock. Detective Smith secured the door and placed the lock back on the unit on Christmas Eve while everybody is out celebrating. Was out celebrating with their families. The Denver Medical Examiner's Office identified and removed the remains of what appeared to be an adolescent from the block of cement. The body was decomposed and a visual identification could not be made. Later the same day, a third search warrant for the storage unit was approved and signed by the judge. Detective Smith from the Denver PD Crime Lab completed the search and documented the contents of the unit in its entirety. On December 29th at 3 in the afternoon, Aurora PD Sergeant John Kessler contacted Detective Smith of the Denver PD and advised him that the officers were at the Aurora Extended Stay Hotel with a female witness that claimed that she had information about a 7-year-old boy that had been killed and placed into a dog crate. Aurora PD officer Stacy Sparks, who was involved and familiar with the case, was already at the location meeting with the reporting party. Also present was Officer Nick Landon and Jason Weber. After Officer Sparks spoke with the witness, whose name has also been redacted, she was sure that she had all the information pertaining to the case. At 3:12, Officer Nick Landon contacted Detective Smith. He told him that the witness had been staying at the Aurora Extended Stay Hotel with Elijah Pankley, sorry. In that Elijah told her that a little boy had died and that her little boy had died inside of an animal carrier and was currently in her storage unit. At approximately 4 p.m., Detective Smith arrived at the hotel and met with the witness, who agreed to go to the Denver PD headquarters for an interview. At 6:51 p.m., Detective Smith began to record the video. Sorry. He recorded the interview with the witness. She said that she had met Elijah, remember that's the mom, at the Arapahoe County Jail on December 22nd. They were both in the same cell block, shared conversations with each other. They were released at the same time. Yes, she had a warrant and they let her go. They were released at the same time on December 24th. Yes, even though that's what I was going to say. Even though the body was found inside the storage unit, Eliza was released from jail. While they were in jail together, Elijah allegedly had told the witness that her son was missing and that her husband Leland was the last person that her son was known to be with. When they were released on December 24th, the witness went to stay with Elijah at the hotel after only knowing her for 2 days. And they shared a room that was apparently already prepaid. Let's see. The witness shared that she was with Elijah in their I don't know what that is, Arapahoe County Courthouse when detectives showed up and took saliva sample from her and gave her a piece of paper indicating that she was a suspect in her son's death. The witness testified that the previous day, around 3 or 4 in the afternoon, Elijah told her that a little boy had died in a dog crate. Elijah shared with her that her husband and the 2 children were staying in a hotel. She couldn't remember exactly where the hotel was located. She said that she told the witness that Leland would tell the boy to go into the dog crate and she would do the same whenever she needed to take a shower, allegedly. The little boy was in the dog crate late in July, and Leland had put blankets over the top of the crate. Elijah told the woman that she heard her son cry out that he was hot and thirsty, but rather than help him, she just laid in bed. She said that the following morning, when she got up, she found that the little boy had died, possibly of suffocation. Leland also checked on his son to verify that he was indeed dead, according to the witness. Elijah took the dog crate with the little boy inside and put it into their car after um, they had bought some concrete and industrial strength trash bags. They went to, I think it was Home Depot. Oh, whether they were there. We're there now. But Elijah told the woman that she had drove to the storage unit, poured the concrete into the carrier, and wrapped it in trash bags. As a result of the witness sworn testimony, an arrest was made in California, resulting in the death. This was prepared by the Detective Smith on January 2nd, 2019. This wasn't in California. Elijah turned herself in to the Denver Police Department and was placed under arrest. And she was held in the Denver City Jail on January 7th, my mom's birthday. Denver District Attorney Beth McCannon announced the filing of the formal charges against Elijah Pankey in the connection with the death of Kaden McWilliams. She was charged with 1 count of CA. Oh, CA. Think about it. Resulting in the death, and 1 count of abuse of a corpse. The press release, DA McCain state, quote, thanks to the tenacious work by both the Aurora and Denver police departments, we now know that young Kaden was not only missing for several months. He was no longer alive. This is a terrible tragedy for the community, and the community now knows that the little boy was not only missing for 7 months, he was in fact dead, while in this case will take time for it to be resolved. It will take even longer for our community to learn and heal. End quote. Okay, she just said the same thing twice, but that's just the grammar and the verbiage coming out of me. January 8th, Denver District Attorney Investigator Teresa Warts, yes, Warts, spoke with an employee at the storage facility, and the employee advised the investigator that on May 17, 2018, Elijah Pankey opened an account. Let me see if that's the DA. No, that was the one that repeated herself. Account with the company and was given access to the Evans lot and storage unit. According to the employee, Elijah was provided with a unique code that allowed her entry into the Evans lot via the front access gate between the hours of 6 a.m. and 9 p.m. When the unit was overdue on rent, the access code was deactivated. DNA samples from Elijah and Leland were compared to the DNA profile that was obtained from the post-mortem samples from the juvenile encased in the concrete. On January 10th, forensic scientist Eric Duvall was with the Denver Police Crime Lab, determined that Leland and Elijah Pankey were in fact the biological parents of the adolescent found encased in the concrete block. It was Kaden McWilliams. On January 15th, Denver Police Department's crime scene investigator Michael Bush downloaded the Evans lot surveillance videos for the dates of May 17th, 2018 through December 23rd, 2018. During the 7 months roughly time period, both Leland and Elijah were caught on camera numerous times, both together and separate, accessing the gate in the storage unit, as well as paying their rent at the facility office. On January 20th, Detective Smith interviewed Leland at the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office with his lawyers. During was present during the interview. Leland denied having a key to the storage unit. He stated that he had access when the couple first moved there and put their belongings into the storage unit. After that, they had been kicked out of the place they were living in, and that's when they went to the hotel. Leland continued that after he and Elijah separated, which was before Kaden got out of school, he no longer had a key and he never accessed or entered the storage unit again. However, video surveillance caught Leland entering the lot via Elijah's code on September 27, 2018. He was there roughly for 13 minutes, and on February 28th, the Denver coroner's office released the autopsy report for Kaden McWilliams. The report indicated that on December 24th, 2018, Dr. Meredith Frank began the autopsy process. According to the report, Dr. Frank's opinion is that Kaden McWilliams died as a result of homicide by undetermined means, with child maltreatment serving as a significant contributing condition. Dr. Frank was also noted the following: as postmortem examination revealed several emaciations of the body consistent with malnutrition and deprived state. 7-year-old Kaden only weighed 27 pounds. 7 years old and weighed 27 pounds. Immaculation, that was the word. Numerous injuries of the head, the torso, and the extremities some of which showed evidence of healing. It is also possible that Kaden experienced complications of injuries such as an infection or sepsis. He may have also suffered a component of asphyxia or hypothermia, which could not have been confirmed to tests that tests revealed metabolites and meeting Caden's liver tissue. Dr. Frank determined that, given the highly suspicious nature of his death, the findings of the autopsy, and that Kaden was a young child that was dependent on others for his care, the manner of death was homicide. And on March 15th, Elijah Pankey was interviewed by the Denver Police Department at their headquarters by Detective Smith. Also present was DA Joe Morales. That's the guy that downloaded the surveillance. Surveillance. I think she's the coroner. She's one of them anyway. Man. DA Joe Morales and both of Elijah's lawyers. Elijah revealed that the following information near the end of May 2018. The family all moved into a room at the in-town suites located at 2900 West Hampton Avenue in Sheridan, Colorado. Elijah was still working full-time and would leave the room at 6:30 a.m. and would return about 12 hours later. She shared the room with Leland, who was the sole responsible caretaker of Kaden and his little sister. She stated that she was well aware that her husband was mistreating Kaden. After they moved into the in-town suites, she also knew that Leland wasn't feeding him. Around July 2018, 3 days prior to Kaden's death, Elijah was taking a nap. She woke up and Leland was yelling and observed Leland holding Kaden by his neck up against the wall. The little boy's feet were not even touching the ground. Afterward, Leland took Kaden to the bathroom where Elijah claimed she heard a ruckus which sounded like things hitting the wall. She claimed that she never heard Kaden cry out in pain or cry out at all for that matter. Leland then left the little boy in the bathroom with the door closed and told Elijah something cryptic that they couldn't save both children and that they could take Kaden to the mountains to bury him. Elijah said a few days prior to his death, Leland was kept him inside of the dog crate. And that was the day that found her son dead. They purchased Quikrete trash bags and water. They drove Kaden to their storage unit, mixed up the concrete, and poured it into the crate. It should be noted that even though Elijah claimed that Kaden died in mid-July, authorities believe that he was killed in May around the same time he was pulled from school. And this is around the 29th. The Denver coroner's office, sorry, I'm trying to get both here, provided Detective Smith with forensic anthropologist report, which was completed by Dr. Christine Pink and indicated the following anti-mortal injuries in different stages of healing were present on the cranium and lower right arm. The right forearm had fracture that had been healing for 40 to 50 days, a nasal bone fracture with evidence of healing, at the time of death with new bone formation present, according to Dr. Pink. Bone formation typically occurs in children by 10 to 14 days after their injury. Injuries to the frontal bone, nasal bones, and the right orbit were consistent with blunt force trauma. These injuries were the result of at least one blow. However, due to the activity nature of healing and the lack of the intersecting fractures, separate instances of traumatic injury could not be ruled out. On May 24, 2019, Detective Smith requested a warrant for the arrest of Leland Pankey for the offense of first-degree homicide, CA, resulting in the death of a minor, and tampering with a deceased human. In January of 2020, prosecutors reached out to make a plea deal with Leland of first-degree homicide in exchange for a lesser charge of CA resulting in the death of tampering with a deceased human. He was sentenced to 72 years in prison as a result of the plea deal. Elijah Pankey, whatever the hell her damn name is, was sentenced to 32 years in prison plus 5 years for mandatory parole for her role in Kaden's death. Wow. Explaining the decision, Denver DA Beth McCannon pointed out the unknown cause of death for Kaden, remarking, quote, "We had to take it into account the risk of going to trial first-degree murder charges when we didn't know the exact cause of death and it wasn't determined," end quote. Prosecutors were also weary of subjecting Kaden's loved ones as well as the judge and jury to a trial that would revisit the details of this case, which officials described as one of the most horrific cases that they had ever seen. Leland Pankey's crimes, they said, were intentional, deliberate, calculated, callous, self-serving, and deprived of any sense of humanity or human kindness. During the sentencing, Elijah's sister, Sarah Cruz, fondly remembered her nephew. She said, quote, hold on, I want to pull this up. There's some of the fractures and stuff. She said, quote, "I was in the room when Kaden was born. I saw his sweet little face and was immediately smitten. As Kaden grew up and became apparent that he had a very old soul. He was a sweet child and gentle, and our entire family fell in love with him," end quote. Miss Cruz is now the guardian of Kaden's younger sister, who she describes as a miracle and a survivor in the wake of Kaden's death. His former teacher, Christina Heffler, started a GoFundMe page to set up the memorial to honor the little boy with a gold incorporating Kaden's memory and public art. We may get there. They had got together and made I don't want to say shrine, that's not the word I'm looking for, but they painted the outside of the wall around the school in memory of Kaden. They got a bench and they planted a tree, and they've just done a lot of stuff for this little boy to have his name's on the bench. Um, if I can get my internet to function. But let's see, there's the bench and there's the tree. It's a lot prettier than that. That's some painting. And displayed on the side of Ellis Elementary a bench and tree. As of the date of this recording, the fundraiser is now closed and they raised $6,210. As of September 2019, the memorial was completed and a 121-foot mural off of Dollar Street in Denver features a tree and a bumblebee because Kaden enjoyed his nature. Also, a dinosaur too. A bright orange bench outside the school entrance was also dedicated to Caden, as well as a tree that was planted nearby in his honor. The finishing touches on the work of art with so much meaning, way too close to home for me. This is what the teacher said. So she felt like she had to do something, so they got together. Um, and this is what they did. I'm scrolling through to see if there's any more. They put up things that Kaden was interested in. This is the woman. You can see the mural back here. It goes all the way around the school. Couldn't find a picture of the bee and the thing, but you can see it says Kaden. I thought that was a good one. Well, that may be it. But these people will probably serve the rest of their life in jail. They're not going to let her out after 32 years, 37 years, whatever the hell they give her. Um, but this is a very sad one. Trust me, when you do these, you have to kind of, I don't know, separate yourself. I've got to where I can separate generally from getting upset and stuff, like crying and stuff. Because I see these YouTubers that do cry, and that's fine. That you've got a conscience. I have a conscience too, but mine's just a little bit more. What would you say? Darkened. But just so y'all know, the reason that I call this the dark side is because it's the dark side of forensic psychology. Because I mean, look at this stuff. This is darkness. Who kills a kid and puts it in cement? I mean, who puts anybody in cement? It doesn't, you know. But just don't think because I don't show emotion that I don't have emotion. It's just I show it when it's necessary. But I will jump off here and thank you again for joining me. And I will see you later. Bye.